All right, and we are back for part two of the Toshiba. Wow, that's really oversaturated. Turn the light down a bit there. So part two of this thing, I need to get it back together. I also need to clean some of the plastics. Here's basically it disassembled. Last time we discovered that the screen does work, although there are some minor issues with it that are probably going to progress as time goes on, but it's just the nature of it. But everything works. The floppy drive had issues, but I did manage to get it working. I put a short up there. The belt just that I used before was too loose, even though it was supposed to be about 100 millimeters, give or take. Went through several 100 millimeter belts, and I found one that actually works. So if you've ever had to deal with rubber belts before, you know what I mean. So I did all of that. I went ahead and got connectors soldered onto some new batteries for the BIOS, as well as the backup battery here. I've got a CF card prepared to replace the internal hard drive, and I think this will work. We'll find out. It came with one of the Toshibas, I forget which one. But anyway, we got to get this thing back together, cleaned up and all that, so I'm going to do that off camera and show you everything once it's back together again, because I don't want this to be like a 2-hour video of me reassembling everything. But yeah, I'll get it back together, we'll fire it up, and make sure everything is working. And with the magic of the internet, here it is. It's all set, all cleaned up, all put back together, including the little trackball attachment that we'll get to in a little bit. There's, I don't know if I can show up on camera or not, but there's some minor scuffs and scratches which have a little bit of, I'm not going to say dirt, but something embedded in. I tried to clean it up, but the only way I can really get rid of it is if I were to scrub it with like a magic eraser or something like that. And there is a very slight texture to it. I don't know if it's showing on camera, but I don't want to ruin it. So, but yeah, it went back together very nicely. There's the front there. The floppy disk drive is a little bit yellowed. It's probably a little bit more exaggerated on camera than it is in real life. Let's see if I can color correct that. Battery compartment, obviously I'm not going to put the battery back in because it doesn't work. There's all of that. There's a side, as well as, which you can't see, but there's PS2 ports behind here, and you can't see them because this is attached right now. And here we've got the PCMC IA slot, as well as a flashing infrared light. I don't know if that's going to show up on camera or not. It'd be kind of funny if it did. Rear ports, we've got our VGA, and behind here, parallel and serial. And the Kensington lock, because of course we've got that. And of course the power reset and power button, as well as the battery release. The keyboard, and the screen and everything. And that's that. It's, oh yeah, and of course the RAM expansion, and I disconnected that inadvertently. So let me reconnect that real quick. Now I'd love to tell that this thing works, and for the most part it does, but there's an issue with the hard drive. Let me show you. And as you can see, insert system disk and drive. Now, we hit F1 to go to the BIOS. It says there's no hard drive in here, but there is. And if I hit home to reset, capacity shows up, but you can't actually adjust that. It's auto-detected. And from what I understand, the BIOS is designed to only handle a certain number of drives, certain types of drives, something like that. I believe, at least according to the service manual, this particular series, the 1960, either comes with like a 200 or 300 some odd-ish megabyte hard drive. And I've got a 256 megabyte CF card in here. Now, the thing is that, and I didn't capture it, unfortunately, because I wasn't expecting it to not work. When I first powered this on, booted straight into DOS. I was able to load up Windows. I had pre-prepped the CF card, so I wouldn't have to copy files over back and forth or anything like that, kind of as a precaution in case the floppy disk drive didn't work. It did, but either way, save time, right? And I got into Windows, installed the VGA driver, and got everything going. And then I wanted to test this out. So I went ahead and powered it down, plugged it in, turned it back on, and it wouldn't boot anymore. Now, the interesting thing is that it showed that there was a drive still in there, showing up as a 240 megabyte drive. So I decided to go ahead, let me boot into DOS using a boot disk, and it booted right into DOS, and DOS saw the C drive. I'm like, what's going on? So I did a system transfer just to be on the safe side. I did an fdisk /mbr. It still wouldn't work. And that time when it went to the BIOS, it showed that there was no drive in there. Let me see if I go and do this here, if it'll do anything or not. It will probably, yeah, I'll go through the memory test now, a full test, because everything has been reset to factory defaults. And now it's going to boot from the drive, right? As the camera decides not to focus. There. Now, of course, there's nothing on here because I went through an entire troubleshooting session where I went and wiped the drive. I did an F-disk, cleared everything out. I even used some third-party utilities like, OnTrack Disk Manager. I figured even though this is a 256 megabyte CF card and it should technically work in here because of the BIOS only liking certain types of drives, I figured let me try installing the Disk Manager utility on there, which kind of just adds some additional things to the boot sector that I don't want to say it overrides the BIOS, but it kind of adds additional things so that the system will accept different types of drives. People use that software, especially on a lot of these older laptops and computers, to be able to override a 512 megabyte limit in the BIOS or a 2 gig limit or something like that. And even though I was within the 200, 320 megabyte limit, I figured, let me try that. It doesn't help either. Now here, it's booted up just fine. Everything's great. Everything's dandy. Let me go ahead and turn it off. Yep. Now it's off. Let me turn it back on. Watch it actually work consistently. Now I'll be really upset. It's making me out into a liar. Goes to the RAM test. And yes, there is 20 megabytes of memory in here. And I think it's actually going to do it now because it should have already started booting into DOS. And I'll skip ahead to the error. And I just tried scanning the floppy disk drive to see if there was a disk in there, because obviously it's trying to boot and it can't. So it's going to check the floppy drive. It's going to check the hard drive to see if it can boot from there. And as you can see, it's just flashing cursor there. And in about a minute or so, it's going to ask to put a bootable media in there so it can try to start up. And yeah, so there it just popped up. Insert system disk and drive. Hit F1 to go back into the BIOS. It sees the disk. It just doesn't know what to do with it at this point. And then if I shut it on and turn it back on again, it won't see the disk, and it will the boot time will take a lot less before it starts asking for a boot floppy or some other media. So that's the dilemma I've got. After all the troubleshooting and everything I've done, I've pretty much just come to the conclusion that it probably just doesn't like either the CF card that I have installed or CF cards in general. For those that aren't familiar with CF cards are compact flash cards. They are based off of the IDE spec, and they are pretty much one-to-one compatible with IDE drives. And, they kind of look like this. In fact, this is an example of the one that I have installed in here. It's just a generic one. They're supposedly new that I picked up on Amazon. I don't know if they are or not. Maybe there are companies still making these types of small drives, maybe not. There are a lot of industrial uses for these things. A lot of machines will use them in manufacturing and things like that. Certain Cisco devices, at least older ones, would use CF cards to store the operating system, the configuration, and things like that. And those are 256 megabytes in size, at least for certain models. And you basically just need to use an adapter like this. There's also a desktop version that has just 40 pins on it for the desktop IDE bus. And all it does is just repin the CF card to the corresponding IDE pins, and that's it. The only passive components that are on here, and I don't know if it's going to focus or not, probably not. Anyway, there's an LED up here, which is basically just for, like a power indicator or something like that. And then there's a small resistor here. Let me see if I can switch to a manual focus, maybe. There we go. So there's the resistor, and there's the LED right there. It's otherwise there's nothing there. Like, it's just one. There's no chips on here that convert any kind of signaling or anything like that. There are also SD to ID adapters. Those do have chips on them that have to convert the SD spec to ID because they are not the same. But yeah, so I do have just a bunch of these generic smaller cards. The smallest card that I have available that's a brand name, this Transcend one, is 1 gig. Probably not going to work in here. And even if it does, it'll be limited to 512 megabytes max, and that would be a complete waste. Installing OnTrack on here might get over that limitation once the operating systems boot up and stuff like that, but I don't want to waste a 1 gig card. So I did what any good tech person would do, and I went online, I went on eBay, and I bought a lot of more of these, but Cisco branded ones. They're used, obviously, but they're 256 megabyte, and a lot of people will use them because they're pretty decent cards, and I believe they're already set up for fixed disk mode. So a lot of CF cards will operate in one of two ways. One is removable, such as when you're plugging into like a CF card reader for your computer or in a camera or something like that. Some will operate in fixed mode because they have to act as a hard drive in a lot of operating systems, specifically Windows, at least newer versions of Windows 95, 98. Don't seem to care, but they technically do. But definitely when you get into like 2000 XP, etc., they don't really like being installed on removable disks, even though they will boot from them without any issues. So you have to set the mode as fixed. Now, I did run that utility that exists, ATCHG, something like that. So you can try to force it. It doesn't work on this particular card. It's developed by SanDisk. It's designed for SanDisk cards, but it does work on some other cards. I've heard that it does work on some Transcend cards and some Kingston and stuff like that. So I figured I'd try it on the generic one, and it didn't do anything. So yeah, so I have a SD to ID adapter ordered just in case this isn't like CF cards at all. And I do have a 512 meg SD card, but I also ordered some 256 megabyte ones too, to try to get it closer to the disk, recommendations that Toshiba has on here. So we're going to try those. So unfortunately, there's going to be a part 3. Not much I can do about that, unfortunately. So yeah, I did mess around with that OnTrack software because on top of it being able to add something to the boot sector to allow a system to use a drive that's larger than the BIOS might officially support, it can also do things such as low-level formats for disks that support it. That would probably be more like your MFM type disks and things like that. I don't believe any ID or SCSI disks support that, but maybe they do. On top of that, it can also technically rewrite the drive's geometry, so you can make it a 1 gig drive show up as 256 megabytes and so on and so forth. So I tried that software to see if I can't get the CF card to show up as a 200 megabyte disk instead of 256. And unfortunately, at least this particular CF card, the ones that are branded like this, does not support that functionality. I don't know if any CF card does, but that one for sure does not. Anyway, so I got those things on order. They should be here relatively quickly. I just actually had a couple of shipping notifications from eBay. One should be here in a couple of days. One should be here a few days after that. So hopefully I'll get there soon and I can finish up this project and get it wrapped up because I really want to get this thing done and put it through its paces. Try some games on here without sound because unfortunately this does not have any sound built in, although there are some options we can look at. I don't have them, but we can still look at them in the next video. So if you guys have any suggestions or anything like that, what I can try in here, let me know. I know it's a little bit bummer, but hey, this is what happens sometimes with retro computing. I never thought I'd have an issue with the CF card because I've never had any issues with them. I have seen some other YouTubers have issues where the system isn't detecting the card, so you have to try different options. They've tried different, adapters, even though, again, these adapters are just passive. They don't do anything other than just convert signaling. They basically just patch wires from one pin to another. So, but the laptop itself came out really, really, really good. It's in good condition. I have no idea if this works because I have no way of testing it at the moment. Hopefully it does. I do know that the memory card expansion works because you did see that it shows 20 megs. Oh, look, it shows no hard drive again. And that's basically what it's been doing. Now, I'm really hoping it's not a problem with the system itself because that's going to be very difficult to troubleshoot. I did also try to find a BIOS update to see if maybe I could get around that. I haven't found one yet. If you guys know of a BIOS update, there's the model number there. This is the current version, so if there's a newer version than that, that'd be great. Other than that, guys, any tips or suggestions for getting a CF card to work in here, let me know down below. Otherwise, catch you in the next part.